What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review, and yes, I'm here with another car review. Another car movie review, because I gotta fit them in when I can, right? So, today I'm gonna do my movie review for Brightburn. So, there's this false notion out there that Brightburn is actually directed by James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But he was not the director on this movie. He was just the producer. I think he worked on the story, but you can feel his DNA all over this movie. This feels like a James Gunn movie. You know, the from the characters, from the dialogue, down to you look at some of his previous movies before he came on to Guardians of the Galaxy, movies like Slither. You know, he's done several horror movies, and this, even down to like the gore, it felt very James Gunnish. I don't really know how to explain it, but it felt like a James Gunn movie, even though it wasn't. Anybody who's been following the development of this movie knows what it's about, though. It's about a couple who live on a farm, who find a kid that has crash landed in a spaceship in their backyard. They adopt him as their own. They raise him, they find out that he has superpowers, and he becomes this super figure, right? Yeah, we've heard that story before, and it's not Superman, all right? The story is, it's like the Superman origin story. Imagine Superman origin story, but when the decision comes to be good or be evil, he decides to be evil. That's what we get in this movie. We get a young boy who is at the precipice of I've got these superpowers. What am I going to do with them? Oh, I'm going to take the world. I'm going to take over the world, and that's going to be my game plan. So it's like, it's very much like the Earth 3 Superman, Ultraman, except not. And to be honest with you, I was expecting kind of an Ultraman spin on this. Anybody who's read any Superman comics, any Justice League comics, who's read any of the Crime Syndicate stories, you know that Ultraman is the evil Superman from a different planet, from a different time, from a different world, from Earth 3, from a different dimension. So Ultraman is the evil Superman, and he's got Superman's powers, and he takes over the world in his dimension. And, you know, I kind of felt like we were going to get that, but in the Ultraman stories, you know, every time he does something horrible, you don't really get the gore, right? You know what Ultraman's doing, but you don't ultimately get the gore. They push the envelope in comics more today than they have in the past. Like, you look at the recent Forever Evil storyline from 5 years ago or so that had Ultraman in it. There were some scenes that pushed the gore threshold where the Crime Syndicate was concerned, but there was still like this separation. It was still comic book storytelling, and in this, we get a story that embraces the gore. The things that this kid can do, he does them. And the movie doesn't shy away from showing you the awful results of him doing these horrible things to people. There's this one scene where he picks up a car that this man is in, and he drops it where the front of the car is falling first. The car's falling face first, and the car hits the ground, and the guy's face goes into the steering wheel. And then he's not dead yet. He crawls out of the car, but his whole jaw is just bloody and just separated and just hanging there, flopping around. So it doesn't shy away from the gore. There's a scene where he uses his heat vision to burn a hole into somebody's head straight through their brain, and it was unsettling. I'm telling you, it was unsettling. So imagine Superman. Like, this is like a picture of what Superman could be if he was evil. Horrible, unsettling things he could do. As for the Jonathan and Martha Kent characters, the farm husband and wife, Brian Denman and Elizabeth Banks played these characters, And Brian Denman, I've always loved him ever since he was in The Office. I've always loved just what he brings to the table. He was even good in Power Rangers, right? Everything he brings to the table, he's good in. And he was really good in this as a dad who loves his son, but when he realizes that his son is a monster, what action can I take? What action can I take to stop my son from this horrible decision that he has made? Elizabeth Banks was great too. She was a mom. And there's a point in the movie where she's like, I still love you. I love everything I love you. Regardless of everything that you've done, I still love you. And you buy it. You believe it, because that's what a mom would say. Even if her son was a destructive, horrible person, the mom would be like, I still love you. I still know there's good in you. And that's what we got in this. We got this mom who was a loving mom who was a little slower to the realization that her son was a monster than her husband was. The boy who played Brandon, he was good. He was good, and believe it or not, I don't think it required a whole lot of heavy lifting in the acting department for this boy. Even though he was kind of the lead, I don't feel like there was a whole lot of serious acting that he had to moat. He had to moat anger, confusion. Not a whole lot there, though, as far as heavy lifting for the boy. But there was some really good stuff in this movie. The action scenes were tense, kind of fun in a horror movie type of way. But you also felt the dread. You knew that this wasn't gonna. You knew the parents weren't gonna have the happy ending that they wanted. Let's put it that way. You knew that the parents weren't gonna have the happy ending that they wanted, and that as the stakes raise in the movie, the horror for these parents also raises. And that's really what we got. So we also had some nice touches at the end. We found out that there is other superheroes. They're actually supervillains. People with superpowers who are doing evil things. We find out that there's other ones out there. And we also find out that the character, the Crimson Bolt, from the James Gunn's early movie Super, he exists in this universe, and he's played by Rainn Wilson, Dwight Schrute. So Dwight Schrute makes a cameo in this movie as the Crimson Bolt. So will this be a shared universe? Will we see the Crimson Bolt take on Brandon? I don't know. We'll see. I think that would be fascinating, especially given the fact that Crimson Bolt doesn't have any superpowers. Would we have like a Batman v Superman type deal? I don't know. I think that'd be really intriguing to watch, though. For those of you who don't know, Super is a kind of a superhero story starring Rainn Wilson as the Crimson Bolt, and it's an adult take on superheroes, but it was a pretty good little movie. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. Overall, I found Brightburn to be a good little horror movie. This whole idea of there being a new genre of superhero movies, the superhero horror movie, I'm into that. I'm intrigued by it. I think that's a really interesting idea. We've got all these superhero movies where the heroes are heroic. What happens if the heroes aren't heroic and there's no superheroes around to stop them? That's intriguing to me. So I think that this is a neat place to go with the superhero storyline, and I hope Brightburn performs well enough to get more. But I don't think it's going to. It looks like it only made about $7 million this weekend. So we'll see as far as that goes. But I liked it. I was a little taken back by some of the gore. Not that it was over the top or anything. I just wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a little more of a scaled back. Since we are dealing with superheroes here, I was expecting something a little more scaled back, and that's not what we got at all. We got something that was balls to the wall, horror, gory, scary stuff. There's no sex, no nudity, very little in the realm of language, but the gore was there, and the gore was extreme. So just be ready for that. Overall, I dug it, though. I thought it was well done, and I'd like to see where they go next. Like I said, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to go anywhere next, but I'd like to see where they go next, because it is an interesting take on the superhero dynamic. So So I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you for being here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about, including evil superhero teenagers. So until next time, we'll see you later.